I wore the dress for 47 seconds, and then I stayed in it for 3 hours after he left, learning how quickly a life can fall apart before I destroyed it. 3 years later, I still can't decide if I made the bravest choice or the biggest mistake of my life. You're about to find out why. This is not a story about a dress. It's about the night I realized love doesn't always save you. Sometimes it walks away while you're still holding on. It's about what desperation turns you into when there's a child struggling to breathe in the next room. And it's about the moment I stopped waiting to be rescued and became the person who would burn everything down to survive. So, before you judge me for what I did to that dress, ask yourself this: what would you destroy to save the one person you can't live without? The scissors were dull tools, sharp decisions. That's what I remember most about that night. Not the silk tearing under my hands, not the sound of my daughter's labored breathing from the bedroom, not even the way my fingers cramped around those cheap kitchen shears. Just how dull they were, how I had to saw through each layer like I was cutting through bone. My name is Kyra Lennox, and before you judge what I did, before you decide I'm crazy or desperate or both, let me tell you about the dress. It hung in my closet for 3 years, wrapped in plastic that yellowed at the edges, taking up space I didn't have in an apartment I couldn't afford. Every time I opened that closet door, there it was, mocking me, reminding me of the life I almost had. The dress cost $2,400. I know because I'm still paying for it. $47 a month to a credit card company that charges me 23% interest. Do the math. I've paid nearly double what it cost, and I still owe $890. But that night, none of that mattered. Mama? Leela's voice cut through the dark. Small, scared. The kind of scared that makes your stomach drop because you know what's coming. I dropped the scissors. They clattered against the kitchen floor, that cheap linoleum that peels at the corners. I was in her room in 4 steps. Our apartment isn't big enough for more than that. She was sitting up in bed, her little chest heaving. Each breath sounded like paper crumpling, like something inside her was breaking with every inhale. I can't. Mama, I can't. I scooped her up. She weighed nothing. 32 pounds at 3 years old. The doctors said she should be closer to 40. But when your lungs don't work right, when every breath is a battle, you don't grow like other kids. Leela's father had never been part of the picture, and at some point, I stopped expecting him to be. Shh, baby, Mama's here. Breathe with me. In, out. In, out. Her fingers dug into my shoulders. Her whole body shook. The nebulizer sat on her nightstand, empty. I'd used the last vial that morning. The prescription refill was $340. I had $73 in my checking account. Payday wasn't for another 6 days. 6 days stretched out in front of me like something I would not survive. Mama, hurts. I know, baby, I know. I held her against my chest, feeling her heart race against mine. Hummingbird fast. Too fast. I counted the seconds between her breaths. 4 seconds. 5. 6. Normal kids breathe every 3 seconds. I grabbed my phone. My hand shook so hard I nearly dropped it. The screen was cracked. Had been for 8 months. I couldn't afford to fix it. Couldn't afford anything. The emergency room would help her. They had to. But the last time we went, the bill was $4,200 for 6 hours, for them to give her the same medication I couldn't afford to buy, for them to tell me what I already knew. She needed surgery. Surgery that cost $180,000. Surgery that my insurance, the bare bones plan I got through my job at the diner, wouldn't cover because they called it elective. Elective. Some people get to decide what matters. Some people get to label survival like it is a choice. And people like us, we just pay the price for it. Like my daughter choosing to breathe was optional. In, out. In, out. Her breathing slowed, Slightly. Enough that the panic in my chest loosened its grip. Enough that I could think. I couldn't take her to the ER. Not again. If I did, debt. If I didn't, breath. Not when I was already dodging calls from collection agencies. Not when my landlord, Tavish, had taped a 72-hour eviction notice to my door yesterday. Not when I was one crisis away from losing everything. But I couldn't watch her suffocate either. I laid her back down, propped her up on 3 pillows. The angle helped. Turned on the humidifier I'd bought at a yard sale for $5. It rattled and wheezed almost as badly as she did, but it was something. Close your eyes, Lillibug. Mama's going to fix this. Promise. The word gutted me. Promise. I kissed her forehead. She was burning up. 101, maybe 102. I gave her the last of the children's Tylenol. The bottle was nearly empty. Add that to the list of things I needed to buy with money I didn't have. Back in the kitchen, I opened my laptop. The screen flickered. Another thing barely holding on. I pulled up my bank account. $73.42. Rent was $950, due in 3 days. I'd already asked Tavish for an extension. He'd laughed. Actually laughed. You're 2 months behind, Kyra. I've got a waiting list of people who can pay. You're out Friday unless you come up with the money. I opened another tab. Searched Emergency Financial Assistance. The results were useless. Apply here. Wait 6 to 8 weeks for approval. Provide documentation. Prove you're desperate enough. I was desperate enough. But I didn't have 6 to 8 weeks. I had 3 days. My phone buzzed. A text from Ezra, my only real friend in the city. You okay? Haven't heard from you in a while. I stared at the message. Ezra worked at the hospital. Pediatric ward. She'd been there the last time I brought Lila in. She'd held my hand while they put the IV in Lila's arm. She'd slipped me a 20 when I couldn't afford the parking fee. I couldn't ask her for more. She had her own problems, her own bills. I typed back, fine, just tired. Tired meant choosing which problem to survive first. Another lie to add to the pile. I closed the laptop, walked back to the closet, stared at the dress. It hung there, unmoving and watchful. White silk, lace sleeves, a train that would have swept behind me down an aisle I never walked. His name was Garrett. We were supposed to get married on a Saturday in June. The venue was booked, the flowers were ordered. My mother flew in from Portland, his parents drove up from Sacramento. I wore the dress for 47 seconds, long enough to look in the mirror, long enough to see myself transformed into someone I didn't recognize, someone beautiful, someone who deserved good things. Then my phone rang. Garrett's number. Hey, babe, you're not supposed to call me today. Bad luck, remember? Silence. Garrett? I can't do this. He did not rush it. He let the silence sit there first. Then he said it. 4 words. Can't do what? This. Us. The wedding. Any of it. My reflection stared back at me. The dress suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. You're joking. I'm not. I'm sorry, Kyra. I can't. You can't? We have 200 people waiting at the venue. My mother is... I know. I'm sorry. I don't love you. Not the way I should. Not enough to do this forever. The line went dead. I stood there in that dress, in my childhood bedroom at my mother's house, staring at a stranger in the mirror. The stranger's mascara started to run. Black tears down white silk. I didn't take the dress off for 3 hours. It clung to me, heavy, hot, like it was tightening with every breath. When I finally did, I folded it carefully, zipped it into the garment bag, told myself I'd return it, get the money back, do something practical. But I never did. I kept it, like some kind of sick trophy, proof that I'd almost had something good, almost been someone worth staying for. Now, standing in my kitchen at 2 a.m. with my daughter struggling to breathe in the next room, I pulled the dress out of the closet. The plastic crinkled, the silk caught the dim light from the hallway. I laid it across the kitchen table, picked up the scissors, and I started cutting. Some things are meant to be kept. Some things are meant to be remembered. And some things you destroy before they destroy you. The silk separated easier than I expected once I got past the first layer. The bodice came apart in long strips. The skirt fell away in panels. The train, that ridiculous, expensive train, became a pile of fabric on my kitchen floor. My hands moved on autopilot. Cut, fold, cut, fold. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I thought I would. Thought destroying the dress would feel like destroying the last piece of the person I used to be. Instead, it felt like breathing. Like something inside me finally unclenched. Like I'd been holding something too heavy for too long, and finally, I could put it down. The clock on the microwave read 3:17 a.m. Lila's breathing had evened out. I checked on her every few minutes. She was sleeping now, her little chest rising and falling in a rhythm that didn't make me want to scream. But it wouldn't last. It never did. Relief never stayed long in my life. By morning, she'd wake up struggling again. By afternoon, I'd be counting her breaths. By evening, I'd be making impossible choices. I gathered the fabric pieces, sorted them by size. The bodice pieces were smaller, more intricate. The skirt panels were large, flowing. The train was pure silk. No lace, no beading, just expensive, beautiful fabric that had never served any purpose except to make me look like someone I wasn't. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Ezra. "Liar. I know you're not fine. Coffee tomorrow?" I typed back, "Can't. Working double shift." Another lie. I wasn't working a double. I was barely working at all. The diner cut my hours last week. Something about restructuring. Something about, "We'll call you when we need you." I hadn't told anyone yet. Hadn't figured out how to explain that I went from barely surviving to drowning in the span of a single conversation. "We love you, Kyra. You're a great waitress. But we need people who can work nights and weekends. You keep calling out. We understand you have a sick kid, but..." That word again. "But we need reliability. But we can't keep making exceptions. But you're replaceable." I set the phone down, looked at the pile of silk on my table. An idea started forming, the kind that only shows up when there are no good options left. Crazy, desperate, exactly the kind of idea you have when you're out of options. I opened my laptop again, searched "sell handmade items online," Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram. I clicked on Etsy, scrolled. Blankets, quilts, handmade things people paid real money for. I looked at the silk again, did the math. Maybe 10 blankets, maybe more, if I worked fast, if I didn't sleep, if I remembered what my grandmother taught me. I could make something, sell it, survive. Maybe. Or maybe it was just another way to fail slower. That word again. I found the sewing machine, set it up, threaded the needle. My hands remembered, even if everything else was falling apart. And I started sewing, because doing nothing was not an option anymore. I stitched until my hands stopped feeling like mine, until the panic quieted just enough to think again. And then I remembered. Someone was coming. Someone whose job was to decide if I was enough. I looked around my apartment, and suddenly, everything felt like evidence against me. I didn't sleep that night. I cleaned the apartment until my hands were raw, scrubbed the bathroom until the grout was white, vacuumed the carpet 3 times, washed every dish, folded every piece of laundry, made the apartment look like someone who had their life together lived there, made it look like a lie, because that is what survival looks like from the outside. Leela woke up at 6 a.m., coughing. The sound was worse than yesterday, wetter, deeper. I gave her the last dose of the expired albuterol I'd been rationing. It helped. A little. "Mama, why are you cleaning so much?" "We have a visitor today, baby. I want everything to look nice." "Who's visiting?" "A lady is visiting us. She just wants to talk to us, make sure we're okay." Are we okay? The question broke something in me. We're going to be, Leela Bug, I promise. Another promise I didn't know if I could keep. Marin Voss arrived at exactly 10 a.m. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30. Blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. Glasses, a clipboard, the kind of person who looked like they'd never missed a meal or a bill payment in their life. Ms. Lennox? Kyra, please. I'm Marin Voss. May I come in? I stepped aside. She walked past me, her eyes already scanning the apartment, taking inventory, judging. The apartment was small, one bedroom. Leela and I shared it. The living room doubled as my workspace. The sewing machine was still set up on the kitchen table, surrounded by scraps of silk. This is Leela? My daughter sat on the couch, watching cartoons. She looked up at Marin with wide eyes. Hi, Leela said softly. Hi, Leela. I'm Marin. I'm here to talk to your mom for a bit. Is that okay? Leela nodded. Marin turned to me. Can we speak privately? The bedroom. We went into the only other room. The bed was made, the floor was clean. Everything was perfect. Except it wasn't. Marin sat on the edge of the bed, opened her clipboard. I'll get straight to the point, Ms. Lennox. We received a report that Leela has missed multiple medical appointments, that she's not receiving her prescribed medications, that you're unable to provide adequate care due to financial instability. Who reported me? I can't disclose that. Was it the hospital? The doctor's office? I can't disclose that. My hands clenched into fists. I'm doing everything I can for my daughter. I'm sure you are, but everything you can might not be enough. Leela has a serious medical condition. She needs consistent care, medication, follow-up appointments. Can you provide that? I'm working on it. Working on it isn't the same as providing it. I lost my job. My hours got cut. I'm behind on rent, but I'm figuring it out. I'm selling things online. I'm making money. I just need time. Time is something Leela might not have. And suddenly, neither did I. The words hit like a punch. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you can't provide adequate care, we may need to place Leela in a temporary foster situation, just until you get back on your feet. No, Ms. Lennox, no, you're not taking my daughter. Nobody wants to take your daughter, but we have to prioritize her health and safety. I am prioritizing her health and safety. I'm doing everything I can. Are you? Marin's voice was calm, too calm. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're drowning, and when parents drown, children go under with them. I wanted to scream, wanted to throw her out, wanted to tell her she had no idea what it was like to choose between rent and medication, between food and doctor's appointments, between keeping your child and keeping your sanity. But I didn't, because she was right. I was drowning, and for the first time, I knew no one was coming to pull me out, and Leela was going under with me. What do I need to do? My voice came out broken, small. Show me you can provide stable housing, consistent income, proof that Leela is receiving her medications and attending her appointments. I'll be back in 2 weeks for a follow-up visit. If things haven't improved... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. After Marin left, I sat on the couch next to Leela. She climbed into my lap. Is that lady going to take me away? No, baby, never. Promise? Promise. I held her until she fell asleep. Then I laid her down on the couch and went back to the kitchen. The pile of silk was smaller now. I'd used most of it for the blankets. But there was still some left. The train, the sleeves, pieces of the bodice. I picked up the scissors, started cutting again. This time, I made something different. Something that might actually change the ending. I looked at the silk again. Not as scraps. As something else. Something people might actually pay for. I was sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by silk scraps, trying to figure out how to make $950 appear out of thin air. The blankets were selling, slowly. I'd made another $200 over the past 2 days, but it wasn't enough, wasn't fast enough. I needed something bigger, something that would actually matter. I looked at the remaining fabric. The train was still mostly intact. Pure silk. No embellishments, just expensive, beautiful fabric. Wedding dresses sold for thousands of dollars. What if I made something else? Something people would pay more for? I opened my laptop, searched most expensive handmade items on Etsy. Quilts. Custom quilts sold for $500, $800, even $1,200. I'd never made a quilt before, but I'd never made baby blankets before either, and I'd sold 15 of them in 3 days. I pulled up tutorials on YouTube, watched videos of women piecing together fabric squares, creating intricate patterns, quilting layers together. It looked complicated, time-consuming. I had 4 days until rent was due, 4 days to prove I could keep my life from collapsing. I started cutting. The silk from the train became squares, perfect, identical squares. I measured each one 3 times, cut carefully, laid them out on the kitchen floor in a pattern, white silk alternating with the lace from the bodice. It looked like snow, like something pure and untouched. I sewed for 18 hours straight. My eyes burned, my back screamed, my fingers bled from where the needle slipped and caught skin. But I kept going. Leela woke up twice, coughing. I gave her water, held her, sang to her until she fell back asleep. Then I went back to sewing. By the time the sun came up, I had a quilt top finished. 60 squares of silk and lace sewn together in a pattern that looked almost intentional. I didn't have batting, didn't have backing fabric, didn't have any of the things you're supposed to use to make a real quilt, but I had an old comforter. Thin, worn, the kind you get at Goodwill for $5. I used that. Layered the quilt top over the comforter, pinned them together, sewed around the edges. It wasn't perfect. The stitching was uneven in places. The corners didn't quite match up. But it was beautiful. And for the first time, so was what I was building. I took photos. The morning light coming through the kitchen window made the silk glow, made it look expensive, made it look like something worth buying. I posted it on Etsy. Custom wedding dress quilt, one of a kind, made from upcycled silk and lace. Perfect for a wedding gift or anniversary present, 60 by 80 inches. I priced it at $800. Held my breath, waited. 3 hours later, someone bought it. I stared at the notification, convinced I was hallucinating. You made a sale! $800! After fees and shipping, $680. I had $563 in my account from the blanket sales. That brought me to $1,243. Enough for rent, enough for Leela's medication, enough to breathe. For now. I wanted to cry, wanted to laugh, wanted to call someone and tell them I'd done it. But there was nobody to call. Ezra was working. My mother and I hadn't spoken since the wedding that never happened. I didn't have friends, didn't have family, didn't have anyone except Leela. So I went into the bedroom and woke her up. "Leela bug, wake up, baby." She opened her eyes, smiled at me. "Hi, Mama." "Hi, baby. Guess what? Mama made enough money we can get your medicine today." Her smile got bigger. "Really?" "Really." I got her dressed, put her in a stroller. She was too big for it, but walking exhausted her. Pushed her 6 blocks to the pharmacy. The pharmacist looked at me like I was a criminal when I handed over my credit card. This card was declined last time. Try it again. She did. It went through. I walked out of that pharmacy with a bag full of medication and tears streaming down my face. We stopped at the park on the way home. Leela wanted to swing. I pushed her, watching her laugh, watching her breathe easy for the first time in days. "Higher, Mama, higher!" I pushed her higher. For 10 minutes, we were normal. Just a mom and her daughter at the park. Not drowning, not desperate, not one crisis away from losing everything. Just normal. The kind of normal you do not realize you are missing until you almost lose everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Tavish, my landlord. "Rent is due tomorrow. You got it?" I typed back, "Yes, I'll drop it off tonight." His response came immediately. "Good." Because I've got someone ready to move in if you don't. I shoved the phone in my pocket. Mama, look, I'm flying! Leela's hair streamed behind her. Her face was bright, happy. I pushed her higher. I paid rent that night. Walked to Tavish's house. He lived 3 blocks away, in a house that was worth 10 times my annual income. Handed him a money order for $950. He looked at it twice, then stared hard at me, like he didn't believe it was real. You're still 2 months behind. I know. I'll have it next month. You said that last month. I mean it this time. He looked at me, really looked at me, saw the exhaustion, the desperation, the fact that I was barely holding on. 1 more month, Kyra. That's it. Then you're out. I nodded, walked home. 1 more month. I could do 1 more month. I did not have a choice. I had to. Back at the apartment, I checked my Etsy shop. 3 more blanket orders. Another quilt request. Someone wanted a custom piece made from their grandmother's wedding dress. I messaged them back. I'd be honored. Send me the dress and I'll create something beautiful. The orders kept coming. Word was spreading. People were sharing my shop, posting photos of the blankets I'd made, tagging me in Instagram stories. Second Chances Handmade was becoming something real. I worked every night after Leela went to bed, sewed until my eyes couldn't focus, until my hands shook, until I couldn't tell if I was creating something beautiful or just destroying myself slowly. But the money came in. $200 one week, $400 the next, $600 the week after that. I paid off 1 credit card, then another, started making payments on the medical bills, bought groceries without checking my account balance first. For the first time in 3 years, I could breathe, and it did not feel like something that would be taken from me in the next moment. Lila's health improved. The medication worked. Her breathing evened out. She gained weight, started walking more, playing more, laughing more. Mirren came back for her follow-up visit. She walked through the apartment, checked the fridge, looked at Lila's medication bottles, asked questions. You've made significant improvements. I told you I would. You did. I'm impressed, Miss Lennox, truly. So you're closing the case? I'm recommending it be closed, yes, but I'll need to do 1 more follow-up in 3 months, just to make sure things stay stable. They will. After she left, I collapsed on the couch. Lila climbed into my lap. Is the lady gone? She's gone, baby. Good. I didn't like her. Me neither. We sat there, holding each other, breathing together. I thought that was the end of it. I thought surviving meant the fight was over. I thought we'd made it through. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of sewing a quilt, a custom order from a woman in Vermont who wanted her mother's wedding dress turned into something her daughter could use. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this Kyra Lennox? A man's voice. Familiar, but I couldn't place it. Yes? It's Garrett. The world stopped. Not loudly, quietly. Like something inside me just paused. I hadn't heard his voice in 3 years. 3 years since he called me on what was supposed to be our wedding day and told me he couldn't do it, couldn't marry me, couldn't love me the way I deserved. What do you want? I saw your Etsy shop, the quilts you're making, from wedding dresses. My stomach dropped. How did you find it? My sister sent me a link. She thought it was interesting, didn't realize it was you until I saw the shop name, Second Chances Handmade. That's clever. Garrett, I don't have time for this. Wait, please. I wanted to talk to you. I've been thinking about you, about us, about what happened. What happened is you left me at the altar. What happened is you destroyed me. What happened is I had to rebuild my entire life from nothing. I know. I'm sorry. I was scared. I was young. I didn't know what I wanted. And now you do? Silence. I made a mistake, Kyra. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was bitter. You don't get to do this. You don't get to call me 3 years later and tell me you made a mistake. You don't get to waltz back into my life like nothing happened. I'm not trying to waltz back in. I wanted you to know. I wanted to apologize, really apologize. I don't want your apology. What do you want? The question hung in the air. What did I want? 3 years ago, I would have said I wanted him back, wanted the life we were supposed to have, the house, the wedding, the future. But now? Now I wanted nothing from him. Not closure, not answers, not even an apology. I want you to leave me alone. Kyra, I mean it, Garrett. Don't call me again. Don't contact me. Don't look at my shop. Don't think about me. Just let me go. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Lila came into the kitchen. Mama, are you okay? I'm fine, baby. You don't look fine. I pulled her into my lap, held her tight. Mama just got a phone call from someone she used to know, someone who hurt her. But it's okay now. He's gone. Good. I don't like people who hurt you. Me neither, Lila Bug. Me neither. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Garrett, about the wedding, about the dress that had hung in my closet for 3 years, mocking me, reminding me of everything I'd lost. The dress I'd cut apart in desperation, the dress that had saved us. I got up, went to the kitchen, looked at the scraps of silk that were left. There wasn't much. A few small pieces, enough for maybe one more blanket. I picked them up, held them. These scraps had paid my rent, had bought Lila's medication, had kept us from drowning. This dress, this symbol of my biggest failure, had become the reason we survived. I started laughing. Then I started crying. Then I did both at the same time, because I realized something. Garrett leaving me wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the best, because it forced me to become someone who could survive without being chosen. If he hadn't left, I would have married him, would have become someone's wife, someone's partner, someone who depended on someone else. I never would have learned how strong I was. Never would have learned that I could survive anything. Never would have learned that sometimes the things that break us are the things that save us. I took the last scraps of silk and made one final blanket. This one wasn't for sale. This one was for Lila. I sewed her name into the corner in careful, precise stitches, added a border of lace from the bodice, made it soft, made it perfect. When I finished, the sun was coming up. I went into the bedroom. Lila was still asleep, her chest rising and falling in an easy rhythm. I laid the blanket over her. She stirred, opened her eyes. Mama? What's this? It's for you, baby. It's made from Mama's wedding dress, the dress I never got to wear. But it's okay, because it became something better. It became something that saved us. She ran her fingers over the silk. It's soft. It is. I love it, Mama. And I love you, Lila Bug. She fell back asleep, wrapped in silk and lace and second chances. I stood there, watching her breathe, and I realized something else. I'd spent 3 years thinking that dress represented failure, but it didn't. It represented possibility, the kind you only understand after everything else falls apart. The possibility that something broken could become something beautiful. The possibility that endings could become beginnings. The possibility that we could take the worst moments of our lives and turn them into something worth keeping. I thought cutting up my wedding dress was the hardest thing I would ever have to do. I was wrong, because success has a way of testing you, and the moment everything finally started working, that is when I almost lost everything again. 3 months later, my Etsy shop had over 500 sales. That number should have meant something. Relief, security, stability, but it didn't. Success did not feel like winning. It felt like standing on something that could collapse if I shifted my weight the wrong way. I had spent so long surviving, I did not know how to live without fear. I woke up every morning expecting something to go wrong. A canceled order, a negative review, a message from my landlord, another bill I could not cover. But instead, there were orders, more than I could keep up with. And somehow, that scared me more. I quit the diner quietly. No speech, no goodbye party. I walked in, handed over my apron, and said, "I can't do this anymore." My manager barely looked up. "Didn't think you would last," he said. I almost smiled, because for the first time in my life, I was leaving something that had been slowly breaking me. I stopped pretending I could do both, be a mother and work a job that did not care if I lived or died. Home became everything. The kitchen table became my workstation. Fabric covered every surface. Thread tangled in the corners of the room. Lila's toys mixed with silk and lace. Cartoons played while I stitched through the night. It was messy, chaotic, but it was ours. And it was working. I sewed during Lila's naps, took custom orders, made quilts and blankets and memory pieces from wedding dresses and baby clothes and anything else people wanted to preserve. Second Chances Handmade. The name started as something I said without thinking. Now it was keeping the lights on. Now it was paying for medication without checking my account balance. Enough to breathe. Now it was buying time. And time was the one thing I had never had enough of. And that terrified me. Life was not perfect, but it was stable. And stable felt like something that could disappear if I blinked wrong. The email came on a Tuesday. The subject line read, "Feature Opportunity." I almost deleted it, because good things had never lasted long in my life. But something made me open it. "Dear Kyra, my name is Bryn Castellano. I'm a producer for The Morning Shift, a national morning show. We came across your Etsy shop and were moved by your story, turning your wedding dress into items that saved your family. We'd love to feature you on our show. Share your story with our viewers. Showcase your work. Would you be interested? Best, Bryn." I read the email 3 times. A national morning show wanted to feature me, my story, my work. I typed back immediately. Yes, absolutely yes. 2 weeks later, Leela and I were on a plane to New York. It was her first time flying. She pressed her face against the window, watching the clouds. "Mama, we're so high." "We are, baby. Are we going to fall?" "No, we're safe." She believed me, trusted me completely. The studio was overwhelming. Bright lights, cameras, people rushing around with clipboards and headsets. Bryn met us in the green room. "Kyra, it's so wonderful to meet you. And this must be Leela." Leela hid behind my legs. "She's shy," I said. "That's okay. We'll take good care of both of you." They did my makeup, fixed my hair, put me in clothes that weren't mine. I looked in the mirror and did not recognize myself. Not because I looked different, because I looked like someone who had never been desperate. But I smiled anyway. The interview was supposed to be 5 minutes. It lasted 20. The host, a woman named Darcy with perfect teeth and perfect hair, asked me about the dress, about Garrett, about Leela, about how I turned my biggest failure into my greatest success. I told her everything. About the 47 seconds I wore the dress, about the 3 hours I stayed wearing the dress, learning how quickly a life can fall apart, about the phone call that ended my engagement, about the night I cut it apart because my daughter couldn't breathe, about the blankets and quilts and second chances. Darcy cried. The camera crew cried. I didn't cry. I'd cried enough. The interview lasted 20 minutes, but it felt longer, because for the first time, I was telling my story out loud. Not the version I told myself to survive. The real one. The ugly one. The honest one. "What would you say to other women who are going through something similar?" Darcy asked. I looked directly at the camera. And for a second, I thought about the version of me who cut that dress at 2 a.m. I'd say that sometimes the things that break us are the things that save us. I'd say that failure isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something different. I'd say that you're stronger than you think. braver than you know, and capable of surviving things you never thought you could. I paused. It means you can save yourself. The audience applauded. After the show, Bryn pulled me aside. That was incredible, Kyra, truly. I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, I replied. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something else, Bryn said. We've been thinking about doing a series, following people who've overcome incredible odds, sharing their stories. Would you be interested in being part of that? A series? Yes, we'd check in with you every few months, see how your business is growing, how Lila is doing, document your journey. I thought about it. Thought about cameras in my apartment. Thought about people watching my life. Thought about losing the privacy I'd fought so hard to protect. But I also thought about the women who might see my story and realize they weren't alone. The mothers who were drowning. The women who were one crisis away from losing everything. The people who needed to know that survival was possible. Yes, I said. I'm in. The episode aired on a Thursday morning. I watched it with Lila, both of us curled up on the couch. Seeing myself on television was surreal. I looked different, sounded different, like someone playing the role of Kyra Lennox instead of actually being her. But the story was real. The struggle was real. The survival was real. Within an hour, my phone started blowing up. Orders flooded my Etsy shop, hundreds of them, people wanting blankets, quilts, custom pieces. My email inbox filled with messages. Your story inspired me. I'm going through something similar. Thank you for sharing. You gave me hope. I read every single one. And I realized something. People were not just buying blankets. They were buying hope. And now I was responsible for it. Cried over most of them, realized that my pain had purpose, that my struggle had meaning, that cutting apart that wedding dress had done more than save my family. It had given other people permission to believe they could save themselves too. The orders kept coming. I couldn't keep up. And for the first time, success felt just as dangerous as failure. I sewed 18 hours a day, hired Ezra to help with the simpler pieces, taught her how to use my grandmother's sewing machine. You're really doing it, she said one night. I am. I'm proud of you, Kyra. Thank you for not giving up on me. I never would. The money came in faster than I could count it. I paid off every credit card, every medical bill, every debt I'd accumulated over 3 years of barely surviving. I opened a savings account for Lila's surgery, started looking at bigger apartments, places with 2 bedrooms, places where Lila could have her own room, places that felt like home instead of just shelter. This should have felt like success, but it didn't. It felt like pressure, like I had stepped into something bigger than I could control. I stopped sleeping, not because I wanted to, because I couldn't afford to. 18-hour days became normal. Fabric under my hands, thread cutting into my fingers. Leela asleep on the couch while I worked. Every piece I made was a promise, and I could not break it. Then I got another email. This time, it was Garrett. Kyra, I saw you on TV. You were amazing. I know you told me not to contact you, but I had to. I was wrong about everything. I'd like to see you again. Talk. Maybe try again. I still love you. Garrett, I stared at the email for a long time. 3 years ago, getting this message would have felt like vindication, like proof that I was worth coming back to, worth fighting for. Now it felt like an insult. He didn't love me. He loved the version of me he saw on television, the successful version, the version who had overcome, the version who had made something of herself. He didn't love the version who was drowning, who was desperate, who cut apart her wedding dress at 2 a.m. because her daughter couldn't breathe. That version wasn't worth staying for. So I did what I should have done 3 years ago. I chose myself. I deleted the email, blocked his address, and this time, I did not look back. 6 months later, I had the money. $180,000. The number did not feel real. Nothing about this journey ever had. I scheduled the surgery for a Tuesday in October. The night before the surgery, I sat beside Leela's bed, listening, not to her breathing, but to the silence between it. Because for years, that silence had terrified me. "Mama, I'm here. Will it hurt?" I swallowed. "They'll take care of you. Promise?" "Promise." She reached for my hand, and I held it tighter than I ever had before. I sat in Leela's room through the night, watching her breathe. What if something went wrong? What if she did not wake up? The surgery took 8 hours. 8 hours where time did not move. 8 hours where every version of my life played out in my head. The one where she lived, the one where she did not. I spent every minute in the waiting room, pacing, praying, trying not to imagine the worst. At hour 7, a nurse came out. "She's fine." That was all I heard. Not the explanation, not the details, just those 2 words. "She's fine." And for the first time in years, I let myself believe it would be okay. When they finally let me in, she was asleep. Machines surrounded her, but her breathing was steady, easy, like her body finally understood how to live. I held her hand, and this time, I was not counting her breaths. Leela came home from the hospital on a Friday, and everything felt different. Not easier, just lighter. She still got tired, but she could walk, she could play, she could breathe. I watched her run, and I realized something. I had spent so long fighting to keep her alive, I had never imagined what it would feel like to watch her live. The business grew, relentlessly. I hired more help, the orders kept coming, built something real. What started as desperation became something bigger than me. Not just a business, a second chance. For me, for everyone watching. And I did not even realize when it stopped being about survival and started becoming something that could change other people's lives. And I had not even realized I was building one. 5 years later, I stood in my own gallery, not as someone who survived, but as someone who rebuilt. The gallery was full. People, stories, second chances. Leela ran through the room, healthy, strong, breathing like it had never been a question. She stopped at the blanket. "The one that saved us?" "Yes," she smiled. "I'm glad you cut the dress." So was I. An email came in from a woman holding on to her own wedding dress. She was ready to let go, ready to begin again, because that was the truth, and it took losing everything to understand it. It was never about the dress. It was about the moment I chose not to break, the moment I chose to build something instead. I turned off the lights, locked the door, went home to my daughter, and I did not look back, because I did not need to. I had already turned the past into something worth keeping, something that saved us. Dull tools, sharp decisions, and one choice that changed everything. If this story touched you in any way, I want you to type "second chance" in the comments, because sometimes the hardest thing to do is start over. And if you made it this far, I want you to know you are stronger than you think. Some stories don't end the way this one did. Some change you in ways you never recover from. Click the next story on your screen.